Hey y'all, thanks for stopping by. So, in just over a week, on the 12th of December, we're going to have the 11th edition of Jeff Cayley's Game Awards. And it's a little fraught with controversy because of some new additions to the rules of what games are allowed to be nominated. They said that DLCs can be nominated for Game of the Year, which a lot of people say that was only done for Shadow of the Erd Tree, the Elden Ring DLC that was released, and it was nominated for Game of the Year. Some people say that it shouldn't have been because other games deserve the nomination more. And I would agree to that point. I don't think DLCs count as a Game of the Year. It's not a full game. I know they added a bunch of content, lots of weapons, lots of magic systems, and a huge map, but at the end of the day, you didn't buy a new game for that. So I don't think that should count as Game of the Year. But, regardless of a DLC being nominated, and let's be honest, it'll probably win it, there was another game that was nominated for Game of the Year that's causing some controversy that I don't understand, and I wanted to talk about with you today. Balatro, or Balatro, I'm not sure how you're supposed to pronounce it. It's a poker roguelike. And I know that sounds daunting to some people. I'm not exactly a card player myself. I don't like to gamble with real money, but it's a very fun game. If you haven't played it yet, it's $15 on Steam. I think it's $10 on mobile stores, and it's worth it. It's worth paying that much for this game. I typically don't buy games that are more than $30 just because I'm cheap. So seeing an indie game that's mostly what my Steam library is now, it's worth it. I can't stress that enough for you. It's very well put together. It's a small file type, and it doesn't require that beefy of a computer to run it. I mean, you can run it on your phone. The sound design for the game is really good. It's very well put together. The music is perfect. It fits the scene so well and kind of keeps you engaged without being too in the foreground. It just lets you focus on the game that you're playing. And the art direction is really good too. It's very simplistic looking, don't get me wrong, but everything sort of fits together. Nothing seems very out of place, and the stuff that seems out of place is out of place on purpose. Stuff like negative Joker cards, holographics, and things like that. The stuff that's supposed to catch your eye isn't that distracting. All in all, it's a fun game, which shouldn't that be what makes a game of the year? It's overwhelmingly positive reviewed. You can run it on practically any platform. Don't get me wrong, I really prefer narrative stories. I like to learn new perspectives and new ways of thinking, and you can get that out of a lot of video games. You can get that out of movies and books too. But I like playing video games. That's just my preferred medium for engaging with stuff. Balatro obviously does not have a story. It is just a game to play, and that's not a bad thing because it's so fun. What I find so hypocritical about the Balatro Game of the Year nomination is some of the people who are complaining about this the most also whine about how modern game developers always push their politics into stuff, how they try to shove things down your throat, and how they just want games to be fun again with no politics. And this game is incredibly apolitical. There are some cards that I'm sure you could, draw your own conclusions from. There's one Joker, I think it's called Power to the People. It's the raised fist Joker that gives you a multiplier based on the lowest card in your hand. And some people will say that's the communism card. But I'm sure you're rolling your eyes right now because you realize how much of a stretch that is to say that that's political. With all this said, though, I don't think it's going to win Game of the Year. I think people are too up their own. I think people are still so up in arms about games looking so pretty and having just everything involved in them that it's. With all that being said, as fun as Balatro is, I don't think it's going to win Game of the Year, as much as I think it deserves it for being such a fun game. People are so hung up on games looking so pretty, and a game that's simply fun to play usually doesn't get the accolades it deserves. Also, that it's a mobile game. For a lot of gamers, quote unquote, they get upset when people play games on their phones. And I've never really understood that because there are some mobile games that are incredibly fun to play. And a lot of the games that I played as a child on the internet, stuff on sites like, I don't know, addictinggames.com, eBaum's World, Newgrounds, stuff like that, games that were built in Flash, they perform very well on phone. There's a lot of one-to-one equivalences of games like that that perform well on phones. Temple Run, I think, is a really good example of a game that was made in Flash that works well on a phone. So those are games, again, that are just fun to play. And people think that a fun game shouldn't be a game of the year. That doesn't make sense to me. It'll probably win Indie Game of the Year. It'll probably win Mobile Game of the Year. I think it does deserve the total Game of the Year win, but we'll see what happens. I do think it's worth it for you to buy if you haven't already. Again, $10 on mobile stores, $15 on Steam. Buy it on both of them. Buy it for your friends. Just keep buying this game over and over again because the devs deserve it. They knocked it out of the park with this one, and it's a very fun game for, I think, anybody to play. But like I said, we've got a little bit over a week for the Game Awards to come out, so until then, y'all try to have a good day.